Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for watching Simon Says. Today I want to talk about a game that has been one of the most captivating experiences I've had in a long time, and it's called Dreamfall Chapters Book 2.
They can only protect you for so long, Apostle. In the end, you will have to face your sins, and you will pay for them.
Now, for anyone unfamiliar with the Dreamfall series, we have to go way back to the very first game that started it all, an amazing point-and-click adventure called The Longest Journey. Years later came the sequel called Dreamfall, The Longest Journey, and now we're in the middle of an episodic game series called Dreamfall Chapters, you guessed it, The Longest Journey. Now this series revolves around two very different worlds running parallel to each other. On one hand we have Stark, which is this gritty future cyberpunk world featuring Zoe Castillo as the main character. On the other hand there's this magical fantasy place called Arcadia with a big grumpy guy Kane as the main character over there. Now both these worlds are intricately connected with each other. There's a lot of history going on, a lot of shared history, a lot of returning characters as well. But for now let's just focus on chapters because recently the second episode came out. Episodes are called books here, so we just got book 2 and last year we already got a taste of the world in book 1. Now with book 1 the series' creator Ragnar Turnquist proved himself again an absolute master at building virtual worlds. The focus here was obviously on fleshing out the setting, getting to know the world, the characters, the political situation, the whole shebang. But he created a mature universe, one that turned out to be a showcase on how to set up an intriguing and interesting world. It drew you in, letting you soak up and experience everything going on, while also outlining the first hints of political intrigue, corporate conspiracies, and the repressed voice of the people. I know, these are cliches in cyberpunk, but by portraying it all through the eyes of the main character Zoe on a seemingly uneventful day, the developer really found a way to make these cliches work for them instead of against them. Although book 1 really managed to create an intriguing world, it didn't manage to create an equally intriguing storyline to go with it. Don't get me wrong, I loved the characters and the writing and the choices I made. I can't wait to find out what the consequences are going to be. And the setup is good as well. Only from that setup, the game doesn't do enough, or didn't do enough to push forward the storyline, and at least not enough to push it forward to the same level of quality as the world around it. Luckily, there's book 2, episode 2 now, and it just recently came out, and it manages to make up for anything that book 1 might have done wrong. In this second episode, we mainly focus on Arcadia, which is the magical world. It's also a world in turmoil because of the Azadi human rulers. They're heavily religious. They don't shy away from violence. They have everyone and anything under their control, and everyone has to believe in their gods and has to dedicate themselves to their religion and their beliefs. The problem is, this is a land filled with magic. And magic kind of conflicts with the fact that they have a god to look up to. And how can there be magic if there's already a god that's all powerful and you name it? So they want to get rid of magic altogether. It's forbidden in these lands. And there's also a little problem called magicals. They are creatures, races, intelligent races that have the capability to use magic. So that kind of conflicts with Azadi beliefs as well. So you can understand the tension going on over there. Magicals live in ghettos. They're seen as lesser species. And between all these tensions, we follow Kane. He's a former Azadi high-ranking officer, but in the first few hours we mainly follow him around as a new rebel alliance leader, foiling Azadi plans along the way.
With the information and buy your life back?
Liko, you are in the Enclave, the ancient library of the Sentinel Order of the Balance in Marcuria.
As in book 1, the most powerful feat the writers accomplish is fleshing out this new world with its fresh characters, and Arcadia really comes to life beautifully. But much more than that, it's the characters themselves, the choices you have to make, and also the pretty heavy themes you come across in this world. I know this is a fantasy game, a fantasy world, a game virtual world, but it's also so well written that you can't help but use it as a reflective, as a mirror of today's society. I know, exaggerated, but still, If you walk through the ghettos and you see the magicals living there, you walk past Azadi checkpoints and soldiers, and you walk past regular people in the street. And while you do that, you overhear like little snippets of conversation from people. And
You can't trust the magicals.
it's pretty scary to realize that all these conversations are so, I don't know, full-on racism and prejudice. And it's also scary to notice how much this has become an accepted part of this virtual society. You know, nobody questions it. It's not something that's frowned upon. It's like everyone knows that it's a stated fact, undisputable. There are lesser species and there are better species. And arguably one of the, or arguably the best writing in this entire episode comes from a conversation you have with this little cheerful magical boy. He's probably 10 years old or something, and you're standing there explaining to this boy what the word segregation means, why his parents are taken away to working camps far away. You have to explain to him why he shouldn't be counting on ever seeing them again. And this is also proof of the brilliant writing, that this conversation, you know, is full of light-hearted jokes that work really well. But they also serve a purpose as a contrast to the heavy and powerful stuff you're saying. You know, what has this society come to if you have to explain to a 10-year-old boy what segregation means? And it really made an impact. You know, you have to be a really cold-hearted bastard not to let this stuff get to you. And especially when parallels with today's society are so easily drawn here.
What's going to happen to them?
They will be put to work. That's what the prison camps are for. To keep the magicals away from humans. To segregate them.
Segregate?
To keep magicals apart from humans. Forever.
Luckily, not only the game world, but also the gameplay and storyline itself move ahead at an equal pace this time. You know, in book 1, we spent a lot of time talking to people, walking around. There's a lot of that going on in book 2 as well, because, you know, that's what this game is all about. It's about experiencing a story through dialogue. But more so, this time, there's room for exploration, for interaction with characters, for making choices. There's even a couple of very decent puzzles to be found here, and more importantly, the story, the way it moves ahead, it's absolutely perfect. You know, there's a lot of twists and turns going on, and it's so well written that it manages to easily captivate players for every second they spend in Arcadia. However, that perfect pacing kind of disappears the moment players are transferred back to Stark, you know, the cyberpunk future world where we play as Zoe Castillo. Even though the story parts are really good here, it also involves too much walking back and forth in a location we've already turned inside out during our time in book 1. There's definitely some damage being done to the immersion here, because Zoe's 2 main quests have you jogging around town at a slow pace, visiting areas again and again that you've already visited once before. It's also in sharp contrast to the perfect pacing of the Arcadia chapters, making it even more difficult to swallow. Eventually though, a whole flurry of plot twists and the growing emphasis on political strong-arming and civil unrest more than make up for running around town for an hour like an idiot. The pacing will take a few hits in this middle part, but it absolutely redeems itself afterwards in the closing chapters. Players will head back to Arcadia and even see a return to Stark for the grand finale of book 2. But long before you're there, the game has already managed to make you completely forget the slow bits, drawing you back in unconditionally. With Dreamfall Chapters The Longest Journey Book 2, developer Red Thread Games and writer Ragnar Turnquist have really proven themselves to be undeniably brilliant world builders. I mean, they're so good at this, you know, the fascinating characters, the way they build worlds and stories and take players with them on these extraordinary adventures. Book 1 was just the setup. Book 2 does almost everything right in every conceivable way, really kicking things into gear. It also has some of the most mature and captivating writing I've seen in gaming for a long time, and if you add that all together, you have a fan right here that can't wait to play the next book.
I'm sorry, this is way too much information. I was just gonna say hello and then blah, so, hello. And hey, good luck out there tonight.
I want to thank all of you for watching again right till the end. If you want to see some work I've done in the past, click here. If you want to see some work that I've done in the future, click here. Thanks guys.